Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, the first day of a new month. Kristen Boyce, can you feel it? Hope rings eternal here today. It is, if you are a Noblesville resident, it is the first day of school. Kristen, I was just gleefully scrolling through my social media accounts and saw so many cute kids going back to school today, including the Jensen kids and the Boyce girls. I saw them heading. What grades are the Boyce girls headed to today?
Freshman and junior.
Woo, freshman and junior. You cannot be that seasoned. I almost said old, but that's
And what
wrong.
are yours?
Ours will be sixth, first, in kindergarten, and then daycare still. So we're on the other end of the spectrum from you, but that's exciting time. So welcome back to school, everyone. With that brings a lot of emotion. So hopefully we're working through some square breathing and stuff. I'm going to have a funny story about that here in a few minutes. But yes, it is another edition of Mental Health Monday. I am joined once again by a great friend of mine, an advisor to me, an advisor to the entire community, the owner of Pathways to Healing Counseling, Kristen Boyce. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Mayor Jensen, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Celebrated a birthday yesterday and a wedding.
38 years old. So it was a great day. I had a wonderful time. My kids were wonderful. My wife was wonderful. My mom brought pizza over. My brother came over. It was just great. It was a wonderful day. Talk about feeling the love on your birthday. I felt it yesterday. So it was a wonderful, wonderful day. So thank you so much.
Yes,
and then,
that was your word to capture it. I love it.
Yes. And then we popped back into the first day of school this morning, which is awesome. So we have a great show lined up for you. It's a continuation of a couple weeks ago. We had a really healthy conversation, in-depth conversation about family dynamics, how to work through them, how to massage them, how to maybe redirect unhealthy family dynamics. All really good advice. It's funny that we discussed this 2 weeks ago, because since we last talked, Kristen, I went on a 4-day family vacation with my side of the family down to Lake Monroe. So we worked through some great family dynamics there. It's an annual trip we take, but there's a lot of emotions around it. It's on a boat. It's in the middle of the lake. There's kids involved. There's anxieties. There's just different dynamics there. Then fast forward this past weekend, not only was it my birthday, my youngest brother-in-law, Julie's youngest brother, got married in Ohio, and all of our kids, we were all in the wedding. So we were in Ohio all weekend long for a beautiful family wedding on Julie's side of the family. And there's family dynamics there. So I loved the conversation we had a couple weeks ago. It played perfectly into the last couple weeks of my life. And I'm sure it plays into your life as well, because every family has good dynamics, bad dynamics, and healthy dynamics, just dynamic dynamics. So it's a very applicable conversation. So, but before we kind of dive into that, review kind of our 10 things we talked about last time, and then kind of continue this conversation, we're going to go over an exercise called square breathing, which I love. I talk about it all the time. In fact, last night, Kristen, we were working through my third youngest, or my third kid, Hank, was having a little bit of an issue last night with his emotions, probably a little nerves about kindergarten and stuff. And he kind of got in a little bit of trouble, had to go to bed a little early, but I laid with him and we talked about square breathing, and I had him practice with me in bed. He's 5.5 years old. And we were talking about breathing in, holding it, breathing out. And we were going to kind of do that when our brain, he's very aware of his emotions and knows when he can't control his brain or he can't control his body. He even says that, he verbalizes that. So we talked about square breathing last night. So you'd be very proud. And with that, I'll let you kind of talk about why that's important and lead us through that exercise.
Oh, I love it. And sweet Hank, you're teaching so young. This is the key. And it's never too late to begin. Right? Because when we feel regulated, it affects the whole family system. It affects every person you're in a relationship with. And we don't want to feel anxious. We don't want to feel overwhelmed. We don't want to feel really activated in our nervous system. So this is the first step I teach people. And we think, really, the breath is really going to help me. And I'll say, just throw me a bone and do it every hour for a week or so and come back and tell me how you feel. And they'll say, well, it was hard to remember. And I'll say, yep, put a big sticky note up, breathe. And they reported feeling less anxious. So that is why we do it. So our nervous system can come back to center before we react, before we yell, before we get dysregulated. So we can calm our central nervous system down. So first thing we're going to do is put our feet on the floor. So we're grounding into this present moment. We're going to inhale through our nose. You're going to pull your belly almost to your spine. When you take that big belly breath, you're going to hold, and then you're going to release slowly out your mouth like you're cooling all of Mayor Jensen's birthday candles.
That's right. All 38.
All 38. So you got to get a big breath out to get those candles out. So let's do it together. We'll do 2 breaths, a big deep inhale through your nose, belly into your spine, and release. Got to get every single candle out.
That's right.
Okay. Pressing into your feet, big deep breath in through your nose, belly to the spine, and release. Just kind of notice the difference of being here rather than the looping thoughts in your head, rather than your to-do list, rather than your worries that you've got going on. This is how you come back to the heart of you, the spirit of you, the central part of you, so you can respond instead of react to life.
I love it. And I said last night I had done that breathing exercise with Hank in bed, and I asked him when we were done, I said, "How do you feel?" And he gave me a big thumbs up. So I felt like he was trying to connect with that. So I was really, again, as a parent, please practice that with your kids. It's a great way to help them get regulated and get them started early on this path. So, all right, let's dive into. Oh, go ahead.
I got a story to your story. Yeah. So I took the girls to get their vaccinations for school. Okay. And I have one that's very needle phobic, like. And I was doing the breathing, and then the nurse came in and she's like, "You're going to have to breathe." And I was like, so she says, "I'm going to have you count to 3 in through your nose and count through 7 out your mouth." And lo and behold, that was, so even counting for kids, like in 1, 2, 3, out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 helps the brain shift from fear of pain into, or fear of being rejected or feeling stupid or whatever the fear is, into centering the central nervous system. So I love that the doctor's office, the nurse was using it as well. I was like, if we could all teach everybody to use it.
Wasn't it kind of nice to have somebody else validate? Yeah. Sometimes you need someone else besides mom and dad to tell you.
Oh, I could say it, and they're like, "Whatever, mom."
The exact same thing I just told you, but yeah, whatever. I'm sure, fine.
Yes, fine. It was so nice. I was like, okay, good. Yes, so breathing is key to handling the heart in life.
Exactly right. Speaking of the heart in life, let's talk a little bit about family dynamics. Again, last time we kind of went over 10 unhealthy dynamics, I think is how you put it, Kristen, which was great. Again, and also I will note, if you have any questions throughout this morning, feel free to share them in the chat. If you just want to say hi, I love that too. We love seeing that folks are tuning in here. We're averaging about 1,000+ viewers every 2 weeks, which is awesome. So thank you for those who share it, for those who invite new people, our regular people. Love that as well. Thank you. It's been a huge success, and we're going to keep doing it while it's successful, which is awesome. So let's pivot to family dynamics. Kristen, you kind of review where we went from there last week, and then let's dive into some new conversation.
Absolutely. And if you want more of a deeper dive into what we talked about, feel free to go back to the last conversation we had, which was 2 weeks ago. So we had triangulation, which you're pulling a third party into the mix. It doesn't really need to be in the mix. Yeah, and you're kind of you're venting in your, but you're not going directly to the person. Lack of boundaries, too rigid. So if we have too rigid of boundaries or too diffuse of boundaries, lack of individuation and separation, where you're not allowed to have your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. You have to believe everything that the system believes, and you're not allowed to question anything. So that's not healthy. We want people to be able to ask questions, to have a deeper dive of insight for themselves. Shaming, when we go, "Why are you doing that?" or how our tone is, how our facial expressions are, can come across as shame, which is not good enough. A lot of times kids in particular will feel like you're calling them stupid. They're like, "I'm not stupid. I'm not an idiot," or whatever, because they feel like that's landing as shame rather than landing as helping. Like we think we're being helpful, but really it's being hurtful. projection where you take your fears of your first day of school and you're like, who are you gonna sit with at lunch, and do you have everything, and you're anxious, that's gonna, and then you think, you project that onto your kid and you say, are you so scared of school today? And they're like, not really. I mean, a lot of kids are, but I'm just taking that as an example. And not really working on your inner child. So not working through your own trauma. We just touched on that. We didn't dive deep into that. But if we don't deal with our own trauma, it will perpetuate unhealthy family dynamics. So that's what we covered last week. And then we, of course, have new ones for today.
Yeah, so let's stick with last week's for just a minute, because I want to kind of talk about, if you heard that list today, or if you heard the list 2 weeks ago, and you kind of got triggered on something because you're like, oh crap, I might shame people, or that triangulation thing kind of speaks to me because I love to talk stuff about so-and-so with so-and-so. And, what kind of questions should we be asking ourselves as we kind of go through a little self-inventory about these things?
First of all, self-awareness we know is key. So we talked about that. In hard, right? If we're not self-aware, you will unconsciously perpetuate these unhealthy dynamics. The first thing is asking yourself, what am I feeling? Oh, I'm feeling scared. Oh, I'm feeling shame. I feel not good enough. I feel like I don't have any friends. I feel like I'm left out. I feel like I'm stupid. I feel like I'm a bad person. We all have shame. We don't get out of any of these for free. Or maybe you're feeling sad because of the grief and the transition of right now, for example, with school. Maybe you're feeling some grief. Maybe some kids are going off to college. Maybe the young ones are getting older. Maybe, going from elementary to middle school, or middle school to high school, or preschool to kindergarten. There is grief and transition. So acknowledge your own feelings. Identify, what am I feeling? Second thing is, what am I doing with my feelings? Am I venting to another child about how I feel when I'm the parent versus going directly to the person I'm upset with? Am I pulling my kid into the mix instead of talking to a therapist or another trusted adult? What are you doing with those feelings? Are you drinking them away? Are you shopping? Are you gambling? Are you numbing in some form or fashion? Are you shoving them down and repressing them? Or are you tending to them? Are you writing them out? Are you processing them? Which processing means I'm acknowledging what I feel, I'm allowing the sadness to come out, and I'm tolerating it. A lot of times we don't tolerate emotions because we're scared of them. So what are you doing with those feelings? And then the third way is, ask yourself, is this a way that I learned to deal with emotions? Is this a way that I was taught to deal with my feelings, to shove them down, pull myself up by the bootstraps and go on, and not name and tame them? When we can name them and bring them to the light, you can transform them and you can break patterns. But if you're not self-aware enough to go, oh, this is what my mom, not to blame parents, but this is what my mom did. She triangulated my sister into the dynamic because she was threatened by us being close. Oh, and if you start doing that with one of your kids, you can go, oh, I'm repeating the same pattern. It looks like it's in a different package, but I'm not tolerating my emotions. I'm just reenacting them instead of processing them. Those are the 3 keys to start identifying if you're starting to kind of perpetuate some of these unhealthy family dynamics.
I think that third question is one of the most interesting one, and probably a newer question to people, is kind of like, why am I doing this? Is it because of something that I was brought up doing, or it was done to me? I think that's a tough question to ask, because again, you think you're blaming parents or, your family system that you're brought up in, but really, I think it's important to identify that.
It really is. And it's one that's hard because we feel like, am I just taking am I scapegoating someone? Right. Am I blaming someone? Am I making someone else responsible? When all you're doing is going, oh, I'm noticing with curiosity that was a family pattern to triangulate someone else. Mom would call, maybe she would call her friend on the phone, or dad would pull in a buddy, and I'm making this up, but, and then you start going, oh, they were doing the best they could with the information they had. That doesn't feel good to me because it's impacting people I'm in relationship with. And I want to stop the pattern. What did I learn about how to handle communication and emotions? Those are the 2 factors that play the biggest role for you in relationships.
Yeah, and I think you have to remind yourself you don't need to feel guilty about asking that question as long as you're examining the truth. And sometimes the truth is a little murky, right? I mean, we talk about that all the time in the office here at City Hall. Sometimes the truth just sucks a little bit. You know what I mean? But it's the truth, and it's your truth. It's the truth you're raised in, and that's okay. It doesn't lessen your parents or your brothers or anybody. It's just your facts. It's your truth. So speaking of emotions, my good friend Patricia Bratton just chimed in and said, can you elaborate a little bit more on how to process through emotions? Always a good little pen to put in this conversation.
Such a great question.
Great question, Patricia Bratton.
That's so good, because this is important, because you're like, that sounds all good to process emotion, but what in the world does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing to it is body sensation. Emotion lives in the body. We're not taught this. That's why I love teaching kids this, because they'll go, I have a headache. My stomach hurts.
We had a tummy ache last night at the Jensen house. One of our kids did. And, as a typical parent, do you have to poop or you have to throw up, right? Those are questions you ask. Every parent does it, and we just couldn't identify that tummy ache. And I guarantee it was because of emotions about the first day of school. Sorry to interrupt you. I just thought
that's perfect, because that's true. We aren't taught that emotions live in the body. So the first thing I really work with people on is we're very disconnected from our body. We're like going through the motions of life, or maybe we've had trauma and we've had to leave our body for some reason because that kept us safe, and that makes sense. And I'm trying to reconnect us to the body because it's a guide. And so my body sensations give me information about what I'm feeling. So the first thing I say is, what do you feel in your body? And this takes a while. I'm making it sound super easy, and people are like, I don't know. I have no idea. Or they might say, I feel like my chest is tight, or my throat feels tight, or I feel it in my stomach. Like, I know fear lives in my pit of my belly. Like, from doing this work, you realize where your emotions live. And so when you start trying on, okay, in my body, I feel this pit in my stomach, kind of tightness in my throat. What am I feeling? Now I'm going to take a big belly breath in to nurture that emotion that lives in the body, to soothe it, to try to release it and move it up and out. Then I'm going to name what I'm feeling. So we have the 7 core emotions from the movie Inside Out. If you need a cheat sheet, Disney movie, highly recommend watching that with the family. But we have fear. Oftentimes I will tell clients, try on fear first. Fear permeates the body. Fear permeates our lives in so many ways. And it's not all bad. So people think fear is bad. And I'm like, it can be a great indicator that you're in danger. But we don't want the alarm system to be going off when there's no need for it. So fear is one I have people try on. Sadness, it's a hard one. So some people were raised that we don't feel sadness, we feel anger, and that's it, or we don't feel anything. So sadness is another one, and often it is there. It's unprocessed, meaning we never got to, in real time, talk about the sadness we felt. And so we say, do you feel sad? Then we can have excitement, which people get scared of excitement, disgust. Anger can be a secondary emotion to cover up those more vulnerable feelings like sadness and fear. And then we have sexual excitement, which people get a little triggered by that one too. And when we enjoy. So that's a hard one. Some people forebode joy because they're waiting for the next shoe to drop. And they're like, if I'm too excited, something bad's going to happen. So it's really hard sometimes for people to have joy. Then we name the emotion. And then I have people float back. So this is a great exercise to when did they feel that emotion initially? Like, what's their first memory of having that emotion? That starts processing, that starts releasing what you didn't get to process in real time. Meaning what you didn't get to talk about, say out loud, what got trapped in your nervous system, maybe pushed down because you weren't allowed to say it out loud, or you felt scared or there was a threat there that you weren't allowed to say what was really going on. So body sensation, identifying the emotion. Now we're going to move. So whether we're moving it through our system, writing it out, talking to a therapist, or movement outside, walking, yoga, and running, any type of movement in the body to move it up and out. So that's how we begin to process, and then saying it out loud. I'm big into saying it out loud. If you see me in my car, as you know, I will be talking to myself. I am talking to myself out loud to nurture myself. So I might say, oh, honey, I know there's traffic and you're worried about being late. It's okay. Take a few deep breaths. talking to yourself like you would a small child, like someone you're trying to comfort that's scared, because that's how we're living in the world. We're the walking wounded, and we don't really aren't supposed to talk about it, yet we need to talk about it in order to heal.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Great question, Patricia Bratton. Thank you for bringing that up. And again, I think that was really elaborate there to deep dive and kind of examine that. I was going to use an example last week, going back to your sadness piece, that kind of being the hardest. I'd gotten some personal news, some city news last week that I was really disappointed in. It wasn't what I wanted to hear. And so I was talking to somebody on the phone about it. And I said I was heartbroken. I was disappointed. And then finally I was like, I'm just really sad about it. And as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, I shouldn't admit it. I was sad. I'm a grown man. I shouldn't be sad about this, and that, and I kind of had this real quick moment of like, oh crap. And then the person was like, no, you're right. You should be sad about that. You're grieving that decision that was made, and it was kind of one of those like moments of like, ooh, there you go, but it's true. It was sadness. That's kind of how I felt.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I think we're conditioned, especially, just a lot of people, men in particular, not to connect, like be strong. That's weak.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Do that. But when you did and someone acknowledged, so what's really, I find key is you gave yourself permission to say it out loud. And that's vulnerable, right? That's scary to say that out loud. And then whoever you were talking to named it and said, yeah, that's grief. That's a great example of empathy and holding space. And that is how connection is formed. You felt seen, understood, and there was some validation, like, yeah, that makes sense. That it's grief.
So anyways, there's my vulnerable
moment. Family systems can do this. This is what I teach. This is what of course I'm passionate about. You just gave a great example of if family systems can do this, the transformation, I will tell you, because I work with a lot of families, because that's my training, marriage and family therapy in systems. It transforms the whole system. Now, chances are it's hard to get everybody on board, but if one person starts it, that's enough. Like that's enough to change the dynamic.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes it. I will say. People don't like change.
No. I can tell you that from a city leadership standpoint. I can tell you that too.
Because it disrupts the nervous system, and we like predictability. Yes. The brain likes predictability, even if they don't like it.
Yep. You're exactly right. You'd rather just know. So awesome. All right. Well, let's dive into some kind of newer information here with our remaining time around family dynamics. We had an awesome review of that. Great question answer there too, and some personal examples. But what other kind of layers of family dynamics you want to touch on, Kristen, with this pretty meaty topic?
Yeah, there's 3 more that came up in particular that I think are super important. Some families talk over one another. They try to one up one another, and the louder they get, the more they're going to get heard. It's because they want to be heard. They want to be acknowledged. And this is
quick pin in that. My 4th child, my 16-month-old Emmy Kate, everyone who thinks she's so sweet, is the loudest child I've ever met in my life. And it's because of that right there. She's the 4th kid, can't talk, but that girl can scream, and she is making her presence known.
Right. And then guess what? Her needs are getting met then.
Yep, exactly. That's why she hasn't walked. She still hasn't really hardly walked at 16 months, because she just screams and somebody picks her up and carries her.
Exactly. It works.
We're looking for that as well.
She's very bright. This is how you get your needs met. See how young it happens? This is a great example of getting needs met, and I'll scream, and then someone will come running, and now my needs met. Brilliant, really, right?
So brilliant.
So this is how it starts. We go, oh, and so in order to be heard in families, we're going to up it, right? And so, or we might be in a family that interrupts a lot. So we look at interrupting. I'm like, how much interrupting do you do? And I have to check myself, because I think, oh, I don't interrupt. Oh, I interrupt. I interrupt.
I've interrupted you about 7 times this morning. So.
Oh, you did it. I've interrupted you. See, this is interrupting is a big family dynamic that we learn, and then we take it into other relationships and other situations, because that's how we got heard, or we didn't like what someone said, so we interrupted them and inserted what we thought. And I think if families can listen more, interrupt less. This is a big lesson in family dynamics. Then we go, well, how am I going to get heard? Who gets heard the most? We think it's the loudest person. Well, when you're a child, you get your needs met and da-da-da. But as time goes on, the person that listens more, Then they speak and you're like, whoa, what they said was really good.
Meaningful.
Meaningful, because you've sat patiently, you held the space. So the less we interrupt and more we listen, the more powerful the connection will be in the family system. That's just truth.
I love that. I struggle sometimes at home when Julie Jensen's telling a story and I try to interject and kind of predict, or I want to get to, we have different communication styles and she's a deeper processor. I'm a quicker probably, and she's more correct on most things, but I want to get to the end of a story quicker. And it's like, I chop up her story so many times by interrupting and trying to guess the end or add feedback before I even listen to the whole story. So just guilty as charged.
Same. Guilty. Yep. I'll be like, bottom line it for me.
Right. I would say land the plane.
Like, I'm trying.
Yeah. Land it faster.
Yes. So communication styles, definitely, but listening more, interrupting less.
Okay.
So the next thing is lack of empathy in family systems. It's one of the biggest, I would say, detriments to a family system that I've seen in as doing this work for 20 years. Lack of empathy. So if I don't agree with you, I'm not going to empathize with you, and I'm actually going to shame you, and I'm going to tell you all the reasons you're wrong, and I'm not going to listen to you, and I'm going to do all these things because I feel so scared that you're going off the rails, or you're going to live in my basement till you're 55 or whatever. And so I am so dysregulated. I'm so anxious that me not having empathy, because I'm afraid that I'll enable you, which that's two different things. Empathy can say, if someone's sharing their pain, this is the key. If someone's sharing their pain, then we're going to offer empathy. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have an opinion. It just means my first step is empathy.
And it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to agree.
You agree at all. Mark did a beautiful job, my husband, last night in the car, and I looked over at him because my daughter was feeling anxious about going to high school. And, you know, I kind of had my want to fix it moment. So I was trying not to say anything because I was like, I'm going to want to try to fix it and tell her all the ways to manage this. And she didn't need that. And he goes, yeah, that's really hard, sweetie. And I looked at him and I go, you are so good. You're gotten so good at this empathy. And he looked at me and goes, me? What? Yeah. I go, yeah, that was so beautiful. That's exactly what she needed. She didn't need me to come in and tell her all the ways that to manage the anxiety. She just needed someone to say, yeah, that's hard, sweetie. Mm-hmm. And that's it. That's an empathic statement.
Pretty sure I yelled, you'll be fine, like 7 times yesterday to CJ about locker combinations and packing supplies, but
yes,
not the most empathetic. But
because after a while we feel worn out and we want them to feel better. We want them to be like, you're going to be okay. Like, it's going to be fine.
Yep.
Instead we go, oh yeah, I can see how that's, you feel nervous about that. Mm-hmm. That's the step we skip, including myself. Cause sometimes I want to get in there and say, fix it. It's going to be all good. And if we can really practice empathy every day. So this is what I tell people. If you're at the grocery store checkout, now there's self-checkout, but pretend like you're at you're checking out, and you say, how are you? And they're like, oh, I'm okay. Say, is it a hard day? And they say, yeah. And say, oh yeah, those hard days, those really are tough. Like,
don't say,
it'll
get better. Or
it's going to be so much better. Wait till the end of the day. You'll be fine. It'll get better.
Yeah. I'm always like, oh, it'll be fine. You live in Noblesville. It's amazing. Maybe they're just having a bad day,
Exactly. And all they need is a little empathy. And when we're in shame, if we douse shame with empathy and compassion, it starts to heal itself. Mm-hmm. If we douse it with criticism, hiding, and keep it in the dark, it grows. So that's why I say to family systems, and it starts with us, practice empathy every single day. Someone opens up to you, say, oh, that is so hard. Yeah. Oh, tell me more about that.
Yeah. All right. We're down to our last minute. You have one more.
Oh, it went so fast.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Off there, or do you have one more?
Yeah, I have one more, and then we'll just close it out. Catastrophizing everything. So some family systems kind of go into doomsday, catastrophizing, paranoid thinking, but catastrophizing everything is not helpful because that creates legacy and generation of anxiety.
So everything's not the end of the world.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So letting situations be just what they are and not what they could be if it blew up.
Exactly. And putting that as like, this life is never going to get better. Well, it may or may not be true, but we don't need to express that all the time out loud. We need to get underneath what's happening. Oh, you feel afraid. Oh, you feel sad because this is all going on. That makes sense. Now we can process the emotion rather than going to the doomsday.
Love that. I love that. Okay. Well, we will review these again in a couple of weeks because that was 3 really good pieces of advice. We may go on to another topic in a couple of weeks, but we will start with a quick review of those 3 last little individual snippets of family dynamics. Kristen Boyce, as always, you're amazing. If someone's struggling right now with a mental health crisis emergency situation, where do they go?
988.
Yes,
that is
the
number. It's like 911. It's 988 for mental health. Please know you are not alone and you don't have to do this alone. There is help available. You can call or text. It's very important for me to say that. Some people don't have the words or don't want to call. You can text and just text help, and there will be help available.
It's awesome. And again, there's resources on the cityofnoblesville.org page as well. And tune in on Mental Health Mondays here in a couple of weeks as we continue this conversation and others as we continue to dive into the world we live in today, which is a world of mental health. So Kristen Boyce, thank you so much for this awesome conversation. I've loved it. Appreciate everyone chiming in, and stay safe. And we'll see you back in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kristen.